I should say, will represent Kenya in World Championship and the Commonwealth Games. This is on the front page of the People Daily this morning. Allow me to introduce our guest this morning as we continue with our conversation. I rope in now Okongo Mogini and Wilson Sosion. Momentarily, we shall also be joined by Gladys Boscholoe all the way from Eldoret. Good morning, Okongo.
Yes, morning, good morning.
Yes, good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you.
I've noticed every Monday now you're donned in orange.
Yeah, it's orange all through.
It's orange all through. Today is a screaming one.
9th of August. Orange all through. Yeah, it's been a tough week. Just back from Nyamira on a campaign trail. And it's nice to see my colleagues here, Sosion and Beatrice. And it's a cold morning, Libali, Nairobi.
Yes, it is a cold morning, and it's bound to be in many parts of the country, according to the Kenya Meteorological Department as well. So, Sean, good to see you. Good morning.
Yeah, good to see you, Dibal.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes.
It was a big week for Kenya Kwanza last week, especially with the education charter.
Indeed.
And the primary question is...
and we have a lot. We've got 45 key points targeting education. That is well thought out, well planned, simple to execute, and we are very sure it's going to re-engineer the sector very strongly.
Right. So
I'm satisfied, and as a practitioner in that sector, I can say it's one of the best.
Well, but we were actually astounded by the U-turn that you made, and I know you've been stoutly against CBC yourself. And we've heard from the political operatives also on the ground as well, saying that CBC, once they come to power, it's something, first of all, it should be on top of the agenda to scrap. And here the Deputy President turns around.
And if you see the recommendations, the recommendation in the charter, the very specific one on the curriculum, you just can't remove a curriculum that is existing and bring another one. It's not possible. Even CBC, you cannot talk of, you remove the entire knowledge-based education system and you bring CBC. If you mark the words in the charter, is that we will support a strong knowledge-based education system that supports skills, competencies, and also values. So really, the whole education reforms globally was about integration of 21st century skills to ride on the existing curriculum. But the mistake in Kenya that was made was to remove the existing one. So in Kenya Charter, we are restoring very strongly the knowledge-based education system and will continue integrating the 21st century skills. And if you look at the recommendation in the Charter, is that we shall comply with the UNESCO recommendations on handling the curriculum. That is, review it after 5 years. So if you are to make any changes, you have to review it after 5 years. And you must do it professionally. And you don't do it with what we call the stakeholders or directed from the ivory tower. You must engage in robust public participation. And I think in future, even curriculum reforms and reviews should be taken through what we call public referendum. And this public participation, which is robust, and it will be done within the first 100 days of Kenya Kwanza administration, will focus on two areas that have been raised, where concerns have been raised by parents, teachers, and the public. It will focus on two areas: curriculum content, that will have to be reviewed. And then number two, the education structure, that will have to be reviewed, so that we remove all the inconveniences, we integrate new ideas of the 21st century skills that are required, and we strengthen our existing knowledge-based education system. This is going to be very easy for teachers to implement. They will require little training, little preparation. So I think you get the wordings. Let us shift from emotional, public, political statements.
Thank you.
Look at what are we proposing professionally. So essentially, it answers to the concerns of teachers and what I've always raised. I am completely amenable and acceptable to a comprehensive review process where public participation through public views will be done, and it should target 2 areas. That is curriculum content and also the structure of the education system. So we might not even, after all, proceed with 2663 system. So the public will have to give us their views, will have to redesign, look at the economics of education and what structure is sustainable by the government and also the public. We do not want any cost and any inconvenience to be transferred to the public. If CBC continues the way it is, where you have 6 years cycle of secondary education, it means additional 30 billion capitation from government. So it's completely unsustainable. If it is not touched the way it is, our education system will grind to a halt. So Debal, I can tell you,
thank you. We'll have a well of time. Thank you. We'll have a well of time to discuss that and also see what are some of the pros and cons from that particular sector as well. I want to cross over to Eldoret right now and drop in Gladys Bolshole. Good morning, Gladys.
Yeah, good morning, Debal, and greetings from the City of Champions.
According to who? That is a recent poll or what? It's a recent survey.
According to the world.
According to the world.
It's the home of Eliud Kipchoge.
Yes.
It's the home of Eliud Kipchoge.
Fantastic.
It's the source of champions, the City of Champions.
Well, I thought I'll see you maybe on your donning your running gear this morning as well, fresh from of course jogging, right into the studios.
Thanks to you.
How is it then there? Is it numbingly cold? It's fairly cold here in Nairobi. I don't know how Uasin Gishu County is.
It's cold and fairly slightly rainy. We expected more rains, but we thank God at least it's raining now.
Okay. Thank you. Just to get also your introductory remarks regarding the CBC and your charter that was launched last week. I think we have Weso Sosyon who's talked on it extensively. But from your own assessment, what were some of the overarching points that were raised on this, and why the U-turn from Deputy President right now, who we've had him categorically saying we'll actually scrap CBC, but right now he's saying we'll go full steam ahead of it, or with it, I should say.
That's the difference between our presidential candidate and other presidential candidates. As he listens to the experts, he listens to those in the education sector, and then he's able to make an assessment on what position he should take or what amendments should be made to the policies that are existing.
Yes.
And it's not my place actually to be able to make too much comment on it, especially when I have Honorable Sosyon, who's part of our team and part of the experts who have been helping in undertaking this work. But what is key is that the Deputy President undertook public participation. He listened to parents, he listened to teachers, he listened to people who have been involved in the education sector, he listened to students. And so the position that is being taken now has been as a result of a consultative process, not a boardroom approach. And I think that is something that he should be congratulated about. So the problem is not changing your mind. The problem is if you're not listening. And that's what great and visionary leadership does.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, let's go full steam ahead and also look at what we have on the front page of the Standard, just briefly to speak about it, and then I think we'll gloss over it because we've actually talked extensively over this issue regarding some of the candidates who are running and still they have ominous clouds hanging over them as far as criminal charges is concerned. And we've had the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Interior, raising this particular red flag, and this is what is on the front page of the Standard this morning. Danger ahead, you're reminded. As free felons eye key seats, vetting of candidates turned out to be a big circus, leaving Kenya with the risk of populating vital institutions with tainted individuals, and the consequences could hurt the country unless voters act. This is where you really come in. If you may just pick it up fully, and this story is well fleshed out for you on page 8, 9, and 10 of the Standard this morning. I just want to begin with you, Beatrice Elachi, on this, because I think we had the CS also saying that almost 40% of the people who are really gagging for these seats, most of them have criminal charges in courts, in the courts right now. What does it really portend for the country? Just briefly.
Well, first of all, thank you. I hope you wouldn't mind if I just indulge a bit in this education sector.
We dedicate some time for it.
Okay.
Yes. So let's just begin.
So
here.
let me leave
Yes.
that. So I think, yes, it's danger, but also it's very interesting because all of us Kenyans, I think we've just decided this is how we will run our country. I've always said, let's not talk about corruption. It's a culture in us. We don't care about this culture, and I don't think we're about to leave this culture because if there are institutions that were supposed to just look at papers,
Yes.
I don't need even me as a Kenyan who wants to be a leader to walk into an institution and start fighting this institution and trying to prove. I mean, the Constitution says this. If we are just good Kenyans who want to see our country move in the right direction and to try and mitigate all these challenges we face and face ourselves boldly and ask myself in a mirror, I've been in an institution maybe for 30 years. You come here and you proudly tell Kenyans how you've been there. But when we look back, we feel disappointed. You've left that institution maybe in the worst that they ever seen, or you are part of the process of killing that institution. But here you want to come to, again, into a governance structure that will make those policies, that will look at the laws that are supposed to govern, and you're the first one to already decide to shortcut yourself or use a different way of entering into that governance system, and you don't feel anything. But now when you've entered, you want to lecture Kenyans how they are corrupt, how they are this, how? Who will really respect you? Who will really trust in what we say? Who will really even respect that you? And it's that, and that is why when you look at chapter 6, you wonder, do Kenyans really need chapter 6? Do we really need it? Because this is something that it's a law that is it gives you to think and reflect on your consciousness. Whenever you are pointing a finger to your brother or sister in Kenya, you first look at yourself and ask yourself, am I part of it? Do I need to change first before I look to that brother or sister? And I think that is what we have to ask ourselves. So sometimes that is why you find some of us, when we talk to our friends or our brothers and sisters, people will think, oh, you hate. We don't hate. We just dislike dishonest. Because I'm not saying you can't do wrong. You are human. You can do wrong. Come out and tell Kenyans, indeed I've done wrong, and I'm changing, and then change.
Thank you.
But don't come and lecture me, and yet you are part of a system that has killed this country. It's wrong.
Right. Let's hear from Senior Counsel. Do you see danger looming ahead as far as this particular head?
First, for me, it seems like the Constitution is at war with itself because there are other fundamental human rights that are in this Constitution that you cannot easily take away from citizens. And Kenya being a country that must respect the rule of law, you cannot overthrow this Constitution unless the people of Kenya themselves make an initiative to amend the Constitution. So in principle, I agree with the concern being raised by Kenyans that we shouldn't have people who are tainted getting their way into elective positions.
But is it way too late right now?
The question we ask Dibal is, how do you identify the people you want to brand as tainted, as felons? You know, that's what we should be debating. And we have made very good progress this electoral cycle, because for the first time we have fully implemented the provisions of Chapter 6 on Article 75, Sub-Article 3. Dibal, for the first time, we are seeing us telling those who are aspiring for political office that if you have been removed from office or if you have been found through any legal process to have abused public office, then you cannot vie. And there's very progressive jurisprudence that is coming from the courts. That's why you are seeing people like Karungo Wathangwa, who was removed in Kiambu, being denied a chance to vie. That's why you are seeing people like Sonko being denied the right to vie. And the High Court has affirmed the decision taken by IEBC not to clear such candidates. That is very, very progressive. Really, that's it's something that you remember in 2013, people were of the view that the suspect in ICC ought not to have been cleared. But again, we relied on the jurisprudence that came from court that said, look, the presumption of innocence must be given priority more than any other consideration in the Constitution. So this year there is very good progress on implementation of Article 75. I think where we have a challenge, Dibal, is on the provisions of Article 99. You know, that extend the presumption of innocence to the extent of saying, if you have been charged in a court of law, unless a court of law has gone through a full trial, found you guilty and passed a conviction, then you are still free to vie. In fact, the Constitution even says in Article 99 that even when you have been convicted and you have filed an appeal to an higher court, if you are convicted by Chief Magistrate's Court and you file an appeal to the High Court, or the High Court has affirmed your conviction and you have filed an appeal to the Court of Appeal, then Article 99 says you still enjoy the presumption of innocence. So let's appreciate that that's the Constitution that the Kenyan people passed in 2010. And I don't think we are being fair to Chebukati. There is no any other way Chebukati can implement the Constitution other than reading and interpreting it the way it has been written and endorsed by the people of Kenya in a referendum. Right. So that's where we are.
So it's way too late, and we will come to what Azimio is doing right now, because if you say that you're going to give the ticket, or of course people who are deemed to be stronger should actually take the ticket as opposed to with the weaker candidates. We have stronger candidates also who have criminal charges in courts, right? Are we also on the sharpest edge of a dilemma in light of that? Because now you're giving the felons who are stronger maybe with the voters as opposed to people who are clean, yet they are deemed to be the weaker candidates. I mean, where is justice? Even after you've been cleared by IBC, then we have the Azimio Council sitting last Tuesday saying no, in Vihiga or in Bungoma or in Maragua. I mean, these are the candidates that should be given the ticket. Don't you think that is really unfair?
These are two different things, Dibal.
But it's still the same. Because you'll have, when we're talking about popularity, you'll find...
The idea of felons, that is IBC that clears candidates. Then you as an Azimio, you receive the names of candidates who have been cleared by IEBC. Now the other level is that any political party that wants to take leadership, you also want to ensure that you have majority in the legislative houses. You want to have majority in the National Assembly, you need to have majority in the Senate. Otherwise you risk getting in place a very roguish parliament, whereby legislating and moving forward your legislative agenda will be a near impossibility. So in terms of strategy, I don't think anybody can fault Azimio for coming up with a strategy of ensuring that we win majority seats. We saw it before. UDA saying that they were not going to welcome any coalition parties to the fold because they wanted to have one strong political party, UDA, and try to win majority seats through UDA. Of course, when they found they're going too tough, they took on board many other parties, ANC is there, Ford Kenya is there, and others. So every political party that is serious in taking over power must also guard not to lose majority in the two legislative houses, National Assembly and the Senate.
Thank you. All right, Wilson Sossion, what do you think?
Yeah, Dibal, I think I can rephrase what Abraham Lincoln said, that the right to vote and whom the voters vote is their inherent supreme right. And if they choose to burn their asses, let them sit on the wounds. And that is what democracy is all about. I think trying to control systems by bringing in laws, rules, are we suggesting that the people are unable to decide on who their leader is? So this issue of felons and the provisions in the Constitution can be better done by the voters themselves. And if you look at other jurisdictions, like the US, for example, the most important thing is that you economically empower the voter. And when you empower the voters, they are not pounds of free money. What we have here in Kenya is poverty. people can't listen.
Yes.
They are unable even to synthesize. You talk to them, they are not ready to listen. They want 50 shillings, 100 shillings to go home. It's all poverty. If you look at the poverty index of this country, now 60% of Kenyans are living below poverty line. Now you take very poor people to a very complicated electoral process where they're expected to analyze the individuals, the candidates, and elect a competent candidate. Surely, how do you expect them really to make the right judgment, take the right decisions when they're fighting with poverty? That is why these felons will find it very easy to target this huge population of Kenyans. So I think here we must fight for what we call economic justice for the people of Kenya. Until when the people of Kenya will be removed completely from the poverty is when they will wake up and they will be able to synthesize and elect leaders of their choice. I've participated with the teachers of the US in the elections and of the country, and you will see what we call political action wing of teachers. They're able to remove their money, mobilize, develop data, interview even presidential candidates on what they will do for the country, and they're using their resources voluntarily. The other citizens, they do the same. They mobilize resources to campaign and interrogate the presidents. That is why the presidency in the US, by the time you are nominated at the convention of the political party, you've gone through a thorough vetting process. So election is a vetting process. It is an interview of some sort. And this interview is conducted by the people. It must be conducted by the people with economic capacity and ability to do so. So even as we think of progressing our democracy, we cannot progress our democracy when we have majority of the citizens continuing to sink into poverty. So here we must tackle the aspect of economic justice, economic equality, equality of the people, so that they have capacity to take their own decisions. And that is precisely what Kenya Kwanza is trying to do. Kenya Kwanza means the people first, and we must economically empower them and remove the economy from the state capture and capture of a few individuals. Let us take the economy and transfer it to the people at the bottom of the pyramid. And I am sure with time, this is something that will be done with time.
Right,
in this election, the big conversation is the economy.
Right,
and hopefully once we succeed, even in the coming elections, these felons or anybody with questionable character will find it very, very difficult even to present themselves to the people. So the power lies with the people.
Right, thank you.
Whom they want.
Right, Gladys, on this as well, as we're winding up on that issue of the felons who now will be on the ballot at the end of the day, the voter is a person who will decide. Is it way too late, even when they raise these concerns? We have the CSs who are speaking about it, Ministry of Interior, the CS and the CSs, they've raised concern regarding this. We've had also from other agencies like the East African or the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, ESCC, DPP is on it as well. Is it too late in the day to make this call?
Okay, first of all, Dibal, this story about free felons running for political office is a misleading, headline, and it is a creation and a narrative being propagated by the media and started by Fred Matiang'i. Fred Matiang'i has no moral authority or power to decide whether anyone is a felon or not. That mandate and power is vested in the courts of Kenya. It is also vested in terms of clearing candidates. In the first instance, that power is vested in IEBC. Let IEBC do its job. And we have seen IEBC diligently hear the matters before them, make the assessment. When people have not been happy, they have, with the decision of IEBC, they've been able to go to the courts. And that is where the decision lies. It is not for the media to label people as felons. That is not true. Our law is very clear, as it has been articulately put by Senator Omogeni. that the law is clear that unless you have been convicted and have not exhausted all appeals to the final court, you are free to vie. That is the law. So there is no free felon running for political office in Kenya. There are people who allegations have been made against. That is all. That doesn't mean that those people are convicted felons. So I think it's wrong, and I think it's something that IEBC should reprimand the media about. I think they should reprimand Fred Matiang'i. I know the comments by Beatrice Alachi, I didn't quite understand what she was talking about, but she seemed to allude that if you are also guilty, ask yourself if you are also part of the problem. I don't know if she's insinuating that Fred Matiang'i is part of the criminals and therefore he is also a felon and therefore should not comment on it. I don't understand what she was saying, but it almost sounded like that. But the law is clear. And once one has been cleared by IEBC, you've marked all your checklists of what you're supposed to submit. If the courts have not said that you're a convicted felon, then you are free to run. The fact that allegations have been made against you is not an issue. It should not be an issue at all. So let's respect the sanctity of the Kenyan Constitution. Let us respect the rule of law, and let the law take its course. Because when we begin as a country to create our own parallel law, as said by the EACC chief, then that is wrong. In fact, I'm on record of having written to EACC, who put me on a blacklist and said that I had charges against me, when very well they were in the case themselves and knew that the cases were withdrawn by the same EACC. So they don't even have their facts correct.
All right.
So let us leave these to be decided by the institutions that we have put there. Yes.
Ray, I'm sorry to Barton, because even looking at this daily today that we have on our screen right now, they say that barely 2 months after CS Matiang'i sounded this alarm, I'm reading this second paragraph. Let me just try and zoom in so that we can read together. It says barely 2 months here, barely 2 months after CS Matiang'i sounded this alarm, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission submitted a report to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which identified 241 aspirants with ethical and integrity issues relevant for its consideration during the registration of candidates. Two things are worth noting about this report and how IBC has dealt with. First, the bulk of these tainted candidates have been nominated by influential political parties and therefore stand a high chance of being elected. Secondly, out of the 241 candidates, or tainted aspirants, I should say, barely 10 have been barred by IBC from vying for elected office. Barely 10 of them.
Okay, Dibal, yes, Dibal, you've read what you've read.
Yeah.
What I am saying is Fred Matiang'i does not decide who is tainted and who's not tainted. Fred Matiang'i does not decide who is a convicted felon or not. Being a convicted felon is a fact that can be confirmed by a conviction issued by a court of law in Kenya, not by Fred Matiang'i. When you say that EACC wrote a letter to IEBC giving a list of 241, I'm just puncturing holes in the accuracy and authenticity of that particular document, and I'm giving a real example. My name is on it, and they allege that I had been charged with corruption. The issue is those cases were withdrawn. My wrongful dismissal was found to have been my claim of wrongful dismissal was upheld by no less than the Supreme Court of Kenya. So are you telling me that EACC doesn't have even its facts right? They don't even know that my matter was concluded at the Supreme Court? Don't they know that they themselves withdrew the charges against me? So so I do not want you to use EACC. Obviously, they don't have their facts right. They haven't done their homework. They have done their work sloppily. So you should not use that as a headline. And you should not use Fred Matiang'i's statements. He's not an authority. He's not a court of law.
Oh, right,
he's all over the place. Sometimes he thinks he's IEBC. Sometimes he thinks he's a court of law. Some other days he thinks that he's the judge passing the convictions. So and that's why I said, let's help this country. As a media, I'm appealing to you with great humility that let us not mislead Kenyans. Let us allow
me to bat in, please.
Let's allow the institutions that have been established to do their job.
But you know, Gladys, you cannot just pick your own case and then use that as a broad brush stroke against all these other cases.
As an example.
And you say the EACC now they're doing a sloppy work because your case or you had issue with your case and how they had actually tainted you and yet you've been cleared by the courts.
Okay, let's forget Dibal, let's forget my case. Let me just ask you, those 241 people, if they have a conviction, then IEBC will not clear them. If they have a conviction, then the courts of law would then say, here is the evidence of the conviction warrant, and therefore you cannot proceed to be a candidate in the next elections. That's why I said that is a decision made by the courts of law.
Thank you.
So, have those 241 people have convictions in accordance to Article 99 of our Constitution?
That's the dilemma now, and this is what we're
That is the question.
Yeah, that's the dilemma. Yeah, that is the dilemma.
241.
And this is the question I've been asking.
And I can help you make.
Just hang on.
Dibal, let me help you.
No, just hang on.
I'm going to write you an article. I'm going to make a list. I'm going to make a list of the 241 persons, and I'm going to put the conviction and the case number against their names, and if there is none, I will write that it's pending. I will help the Standard Media Group. I will write for you the table and actually do the homework for you. Then you will have accurate news.
But you know, I think that's a non-issue because first of all, we are asking the question of where we are, and we've heard from Senior Counsel here, Okongo Mogeni, raising the issue of how the Constitution is self-cannibalizing itself. Right? You raise issues of conviction. Until you're convicted, then you cannot really run. But we know there are cases, people who have been embroiled in corruption in this particular country. People who they've killed.
Give me an example.
I don't want to mention names. You know. Come on, Gladys. Yeah, come on. Yeah, you don't really have your head in the sand. You do know that, and yet now they will be in the ballot at the end of the day. It's because the Constitution protects their rights. And of course,
do they have a conviction? Tell me one conviction.
That is the question that I'm raising.
Conviction is a fact, and by the way, you're protected if you mention it.
Should we retrieve back and try and also raise the question with the Constitution?
Give me one conviction of a person who's on the ballot.
Who has been convicted?
Yes, give me one person who's been convicted and has a conviction warrant against them and that they are on the ballot. Just give me one example. I'll go to court myself.
All right, Give
me one.
We do have. I don't want to mention names here. Let's also get cases of libel, right? So I don't want to mention names.
No, you won't be in trouble if it's a fact. A conviction
I don't
is a
want
fact.
to work on legal minds. Let me just do my facts and fact check, then I come to you. But let me hear from British Elachi and Okongo Mogeni.
Well, you see, when I started, and I know my sister Shale is saying she didn't understand, what I said is that all of us Kenyans, when we question each other, yeah, we need to go back, especially all of us who have sat in public offices, and ask ourselves, what have you done behind there as you move on? That's why I was saying we must question our consciousness, because we'll end up in the same question. Who are we now? When we say these are felonies, are we all felonies? Are we all? But we will fight, and I think Council has put it clear. We will fight it. All of us will be using the Constitution, and we will say, the Constitution says I am not guilty until charged. The Constitution says. So until we go back and look at this Constitution, and then we ask ourselves, at what point do we agree as Kenyans that when we are not saying that when you finish, whether your case or whatever, you will come back to, the courts clear you, you continue with your life. But all I was just saying, for purposes of also, even in future, for us Kenyans to respect the same document we gave ourselves, it is important. There are many things I think we need to go and sit back and look at this Constitution and ask ourselves how to amend so that it goes either with our character or how we want it, especially this one of education. If I must, Kenyans just go on a referendum, remove that thing, because it's not helping you. Yeah. We find ourselves, everyone running, and you go, you want to now prove It is so simple. I went to school and I can see one of our biggest who has been with us for many years. You just come with your transcripts quietly. It's not an issue. Even it's not supposed to be in any headline, by the way. Fine, I have a problem. This is my degree. If you have a problem, these are my transcripts. If you have a problem, this is the university I went through. Just ask. You don't need to really make Kenyans start now making it a political issue. It is not a political issue. It is an issue of you. And that's why I'm saying, that one of degree, please, let's go and remove it. It's not helping us at all. It is making us look, in fact, our education system across the world now becomes very questionable. Why? Why do we do that to ourselves? Yet we are the ones who are in parliament, who would have amended the law the way you want. But then the constitution, and it was a Kenyan right to say that a governor, I'm just giving an example, a governor should have a degree. It was the constitution. So why would we now run around this constitution again? It's not fair. That's why I'm saying, I find these are laws. Kenyans made these laws. We went through a referendum. Take it back to Kenyans. What we feel is not working, but let us not also remove something for the sake of us who are going to make the law. Let us do it for the sake of the country also.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Can you allow me just to take a short break, then we finalize on it with you, Senior Counsel, and also Wilson Susion. We take a short break right now. When we circle back, we try and interrogate. Of course, we are learning this morning. It's an issue that we had actually on this show beaten it to the ground as well. But have we really passed that particular junction? There's nothing much we can do. Even if they raise that concern about the 40% of felons who are running for this particular seat, they will still run at the end of the day. Gladys, you raise a good question. Who has been convicted? I know, yes, IBC has not cleared Mike Sonko. He, of course, was convicted. We had impeachment at the end of the day. And we have a senior counsel like Kalonzo Musyoka who's trying to also contest this in the High Court as well at the end of the day. So I failed to understand, even with the lawyers, primarily what is actually in the Constitution. And you know very well that if you have a conviction, truly you can't really run. But